you from?
Started as an East Coast vibe, now I'm going worldwide. We got this bitch going crazy. I used to take the Mazda for a drive, now I'm on the 405 like it's fuck you, pay me. We really sick of standing outside, had to push them all aside. It's what you get for trying to play me. I bet they make a movie when I die just to talk about my life. They need an actor to portray me. I got this motherfucker clear like an eye drop. I got elevated flow on a high top. I got little something stacked like an IHOP. This is 05, you will put it on your iPod. I'ma give you something that you can't forget. Put the price up, baby, add the tax a bit. Know you saw the comma, thought it was an accident. Well, it wasn't. It's about time the kids buzzing. I'm trying to get a peek in the elevator. But if we talking peaks, I need mine like the Himalayas. I'm talking yay high, man. I never had a vertical limit. I ain't seen you put in work in a minute. I gotta put on for the family. That goes for every person that's in it. Used to scrape by working as a service attendant till I got more. Bitch, I ain't comfy. I need the top floor. Doing anything to get that spot for. Pop off. Started as an East Coast vibe. Now I'm going worldwide. We got this bitch going crazy. I used to take the Mazda for a drive. Now I'm on the 405 like it's fuck you, pay. We really sick of standing outside. Had to push them all aside. It's what you get for trying to play me. I bet they make a movie when I die just to talk about my life. They need an actor to portray me. I ain't settling for nothing that be under an M. There's only one of me, there's 100 of them. Gotta listen close, I drop hundreds of gems. From the start, no, I wasn't pretend. With the world on my back, had to drop my own ego. Problems at the crib, we couldn't fix at Home Depot. Dad was on tilt, mom's off the vino. Room full of smoke like we lived in a casino. She know, day I moved out is when I opened my eyes. Looking for the truth like God show me a sign. I'm not religious or the holiest kind, but the blessings came to me when I opened my mind. I was running around the city, man, I knew I had to make some. Wasn't raised a thief, but if I had to, I would take some. Worked the Frito-Lay, I was writing on my break, son. Plotting on a record, waiting for the day we break one.
Nah, I was just, no, I'm really busy, just wrapping up some stuff in the studio. Yeah, everything's good. I mean, it's just been a lot of, like, settling in and whatnot. Yeah. I'm not really sure when I'm coming back. I don't have any plans of it right now,
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call and quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve.
Welcome to the Designated Spittaz. Yes. We are back, and I really kind of want to say better than ever, but I'm not feeling better than ever, so I'm not going to go there yet, Derek. I'm still a little under the weather.
I'm circling the drain myself, man. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but I'd rather it happen now than during the season when we got actual games that count, you know?
Damn right. I definitely want to feel better, and hopefully anybody out there who's been sick, because I've been hearing from a lot of people like, Pete, it got me too. I don't know if it's all the weather changing or what the hell's going on out there, but my goodness, yeah, I definitely been beat up by this thing. And as Derek let me know before this, he's like, yeah, it probably didn't help too much yesterday going nuts as much as I did. But,
yeah, I'm surprised you're able to talk today for sure.
Yeah, I am. I guess maybe that has I should be proud of that. Thank you. I am able to talk. I'm good to go, and I'm calling the game tonight again, damn it, all right? So I'm ready to rock and roll, but the New York Yankees season is getting closer and closer to opening day. And by the way, that opening day will be the next episode, correct, of NYYPD. So I want to shout that out.
Yep, opening night.
So we are ready to jump in, rock and roll all year long on Derek's channel, here on NyynewsTV. We've got so much in store for you guys. But the cool thing is, and I guess I kind of want to say a cool thing because I don't remember a spring training where we kind of had a competition that has gotten so many people to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's some open spots right now that people are really, I think it's going to make some people feel a certain way about spring training depending on how the Yankees go. So, do you remember a spring training where we kind of had something like this?
2008, you had 3 starting pitchers trying to make the rotation. You had Hughes, Kennedy, and Jabba Chamberlain. And I think combined they had 0 wins, maybe 1 win all year. It was awful.
That was a terrible year.
But I mean, they look great in spring. So I can't remember a time when there's been an open position battle. I mean, since Jeter, really, for such a vital position. Usually the middle of the infield is locked up. I mean, we had Jeter for all those years. You know, we had guys like Soriano and Cano. I mean, the middle of the infield is typically set. You typically go out and pay for a center fielder.
Yep.
Catching, we had Posada all those years, and then Brian McCann, you had him but up the middle, it's strange that we could have essentially, we really don't know for sure that we have our second baseman and shortstop for opening day yet.
Correct. And that's the absolutely wild thing. And we're going to get to that. That's probably going to be the big meat of the show when it comes to that shortstop battle, what the infield could potentially look like. Do the Yankees go out there and make a move? We hear today that in a few days or next week, they're going to get every big wig together and say, hey, what are we doing here? What is the goal? And Derek, I tell you what, I think you have the comments of the offseason so far.
The committee meetings. We got another committee meeting coming up.
You have the comments of the offseason when you said, where is the direction? And you called it out, and it was spot on, is that this team needs somebody in that room to simply just go, here's how it's going to happen. That is it.
Make the decision.
And make the decision. It's not that hard.
I'm a big fan of Penn Jillette. He's a comedian, but he's also got a really good podcast. And he just wrote a book called Random, right? And the whole purpose about Random is you assign different values to different dice for potential decisions, right? Yeah. And you kind of rank them based on the likelihood of the dice decision. So let's say there's a girl you want to ask out, right?
Right.
And you say, well, do I take her to a movie? Do I take her to dinner? Do I take her to so you assign values to all those things on your dice, and you throw the dice and you go with whatever the dice is. And the point is that sometimes it's better to just make a decision no matter what the decision is, because then it's locked in and you can start preparing. I think it's a little bit unfair, the way that we've gone this deep into spring training, and a lot of these guys don't know really what their roles are. Instead of getting ready, they're competing and spending bullets on a time when really you should be prepping, right?
So where it stands right now, to get into the first topic, I've been seeing this a lot on Twitter. Maybe due more to the fact that Rodon is out, due more to the fact that Nestor just made his first start, due more to the fact that Luis Severino has got beaten up a little bit in spring training. Do you have any concern whatsoever when it comes to the Yankees rotation currently entering the season?
Well, I mean, I'm always concerned about the rotation, but not specifically because of the spring training results we've seen this year.
Right.
The way pitchers approach hitters in spring training, even more so these days with the metrics and stuff like that, they approach them differently during spring training than they would during the regular season, right? Where they're throwing to their hot zones or their cold zones, whatnot. Injuries are always a concern. Rodon, I think, concerns me more than it concerns the Yankees, because, you always hear forearm strain, forearm issues as a precursor to UCL. And a lot of times, I mean, how many times did we hear somebody say, well, we got a forearm problem, but the UCL looks fine? Yes. Well, you know what happens? And this is something that people always forget. Things are connected. You have a little bit of a forearm problem. You come back and you start throwing, you compensate a little bit. Correct. And that changes your arm, and that's what causes the elbow problem.
Correct.
I think it's a good move that they shut him down, so I do think that was a smart play. But if he's feeling anything when he comes back, I think there's a real risk to that elbow if he compensates. So, I'm hopeful that it's not going to end up being another typical, Yankees acquisition where they just fall apart the second that the Yankees bring him on board. But until I see otherwise, I'm going to remain skeptical. Severino, to me, it's just trouble with the slider right now.
Yep.
It wouldn't shock me if he's hiding an injury just because he is pitching for a contract. But to me, all I've seen, I mean, the velocity's there. The mechanics look fine. To me, it's a guy who's overthrowing his slider a little bit, just doesn't have the feel for it yet.
Yep.
And I think with a couple of reps, he'll get that together. Schmidt looks good. Herman looks good. Cole had a tough one today, which we couldn't watch, which we talked about.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Another one that we couldn't watch with Cole on a mound specifically.
Right. Have we gotten to see him pitch live this year? Maybe once?
Maybe once. But yeah, I know his last couple of outings, no, he hasn't been on television for whatever reason.
But I mean, yeah, my level of concern about the rotation is about like it is going into any season, just because like it's such a fragile area of every team, right? If you lose a couple of more guys, it can tank your whole season.
Correct.
But right now I'm just kind of, it's just all you can really do is just kind of cross your fingers and just say, hey, let's hope everybody stays healthy. The depth is a big concern. I mean, it would be nice to have Waldichuk or Sears as a backup instead of Frankie Montas on the IL. That's the more we learn about that trade and how he was injured coming into that deal, should have never been made.
No doubt about it. It just looks bad, and depth is a good thing to talk about, because if you look at where the Yankees are right now, if they have to use Herman and Clark Schmidt in the rotation, if that's the route they're going to have to take, your next best starter is probably Yoendrys Gomez, who we've seen start in a couple of spring training outings, and he's looked good. He's looked fine, but he's one of those guys as a pitcher, you kind of want him to develop. You don't want to rush him in that regard to say, hey, fill a spot in our rotation. That's the last thing you want to do, and I think that's going to kind of tie into maybe a little later in the show when we talk about what type of trades they can make to kind of make that infield work the way it probably should go going forward. But the next topic, and I agree with everything you said, Severino, it's so obvious that he's overthrowing the slider. It's not there right now for him. It is the pitch he needs to have working. It's not working right now. A lot of times that stuff comes down to feel.
What about Davey?
Eventually get that feel.
What about Davey Garcia? What are your thoughts on him? I think we've seen him one time.
My understanding is they've completely moved him to the bullpen. So they feel like he is just a bullpen arm moving forward.
Really?
That is it. And the good thing is, every report I got proved to be accurate. His fastball's back up, so he's throwing 96 plus again. And I think maybe the Yankees feel like, hey, look, he got one more chance really with us. He has that one option remaining. He got that one shot. If he can make something work out of the bullpen, he could be a guy that could stick and stay around. So maybe it's more that regard for him.
I find him intriguing just because, he was really effective when he first came up. Mm-hmm. To me, he's kind of got that Phil Hughes syndrome with his breaking ball where it's got a big break, but it's not a wipeout pitch. And so guys can see it and kind of sit back on it a little bit. And he doesn't throw quite hard enough to offset that. Like he throws 96, but everybody throws 96 now. Yeah, if he threw 99, 100 with that, then you could really pull the string on it. Again, I don't buy him as a starter, but I could get behind him out of the bullpen maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And the Yankees, look, that's going to be something they're going to have to seriously address, I think, before the season begins. And we're going to get to that. But the last thing I want to talk about before we get into that is the Yankees outfield currently. And it looks like right now, Calhoun, Ortega, one of those two probably make this club. Now, I think the better hitter is Willie Calhoun. I think the better overall player that could play every outfield spot and do a decent job of it is Ortega. Yeah. They're both bat from the left side, so you got that plus. But what is this Yankee outfield going to shape up to be come opening day? I mean, right now it is looking a little concerning.
Well, with Bader out, I think you're probably going to see Judge in center to start things out. It makes sense to put Stanton out in right field, but I worry about the cold weather and putting him out there right away. We tried that a couple of years ago, and he ended up pulling a calf muscle in the first week of the season. Then, before you know it, he's out till June, and then he's trying to get his swing back for a month. Aaron Hicks has looked awful. Terrible. I mean, has he not looked terrible out there? I appreciate that he's made some adjustments at the plate. I think he'll benefit from the shift going away, but god damn, he has looked atrocious in the outfield. I can think of 3 fly balls that have dropped in that really even an average high school player probably would have run down. We're not talking about varsity here. We're talking about the JV guys would run these down. And I don't want to hear the wind in Florida. This is an outdoor sport. You learn to deal with the wind when you're 10 years old.
Of course.
Ortega and Calhoun, they both look okay to me. I think it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I like Calhoun's swing a little better. Like you said, he's got a little bit better strike zone judgment too. Yeah. people look at the stats or whatever, but like we talked about on a previous episode, in spring, you really can't look at the stats. You got to look at the kind of at-bats that guys are having. And
Right.
I think Calhoun's taken a lot more pitches. He's a lot more balanced at the plate. I just like his swing a little bit better. Ortega, I saw him run one down in center field the other day, look good. But I mean, I see IKF taking fly balls out in center field, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
If you have IKF taking fly balls, if he's taking fly balls in center field, you fucked up as a GM. I'm sorry. There's no reason for him to even be on.
And the thing, Derek, the thing that I'm so sick of, everybody, it's just spring training. They're trying something. No, not like this. This is not the way you go about it. This is a roster that has been created. This is the roster that has been created. That is the problem. That's why Yankee fans are reacting. That's why me and Derek text each other like, hey, Pete. I remember Derek's message. He was like, I think Dominguez really should have a chance to make this club. I didn't know before. Because you know why? Look at the way Aaron Hicks has looked.
Yeah.
I've been the number one person going, look, Dominguez don't look too good in the outfield. He looked better than Hicks.
Yeah. I mean, look.
Come on.
If you set aside the names, okay, let's pretend that you showed up at spring training and you had amnesia, right? And you couldn't remember anything, and this was your first baseball game that you're watching or whatever.
Yep.
You watch Dominguez play and you watch Aaron Hicks play. They're not in the same class. One guy is
not even close.
Just skill level, physically. Dominguez is faster. He's stronger. He's got more bat speed. He's got a better arm. He doesn't quite play the outfield as well as you would expect he will in the future, but he's damn sight better than Aaron Hicks.
He's better than Aaron Hicks.
At
least his speed will make up for it. So
to me, that's a money problem. Look, they're paying him all this money. They don't want to cut him, but to me, that's a bullshit excuse. You can't when you make that much money, you've got to go with the best player. The best player should play. And look, we're going to see Dominguez this year. I would bet every dollar in my. I'd bet every dollar in my bank account that he'll be. If you think about the amount of injuries that the Yankees have had in recent years, I mean, every year it seems like we've lost a couple of guys in the outfield at one point. And I mean, you look at the depth, we just don't have the depth. So they're going to move him around in the minor leagues with the thought of have him be able to fill in right, in left. Obviously, he can play center. I think once he gets called up, let's say, I'm going to say July sometime is my prediction. When he gets called up in July, you're never going to see him in the minor leagues again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all. I think, look, here's my biggest concern is that the Yankees have guys above at AA or AAA that are better than Aaron Hicks, that I truly believe would be better for this team than Aaron Hicks. Elijah Dunham is another one that
Pereira.
A lot of people are. Everson Pereira. These are guys that are and Pereira, I believe, is on a 40-man roster. You got guys already that are there. And I'm not saying, I know a lot of fans, they always want, hey, P, hold on. You don't want to go ahead and throw these guys out. You don't want to rush them. But guys, look, we are talking about a team that is supposed to be a World Series caliber team. Let me tell you right now, if Aaron Hicks was on the Houston Astros, he would have been moved already. He would have been moved or released. They would not have him in left field. I do not understand or can't even comprehend the reason that you can continue to watch Aaron Hicks in spring and go, we're going to run him out in center field or left field every single day. I can't comprehend it as a club who wants to win.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying the money anyway. If nobody will trade for him, really the best move for your organization is to just cut Hicks and Donaldson and go from there. Let's just pretend for a second that it's not a baseball team, right? Let's pretend that it's a restaurant and you've got a few workers that are not pulling their weight, whatever. You've already paid them, for their training. You bought their uniform. You got some money invested in them. You don't want to just let them go, but they're screwing up orders. They're offending customers. At some point, you just got to say, all right, well, we're going to go with somebody else and just let them go. That's just how business is run.
Correct.
And for a team that prides itself on the way it does business, I mean, come on. And I think part of it is that, Hal is much more tight-fisted with his money than George was. And right. So he doesn't want to pay somebody to go play for somebody else, right? He doesn't want to pay. That's why he has a problem with going over the luxury tax. I think George would spend a lot more like Cohen is spending, where he, tax be damned.
Yep.
And I think that's a problem. I think if you're going to be a serious franchise and you want to be respected as, the creme de la creme of professional sports franchises, you have to operate in a way that's above and beyond what you would expect from, just a mid-level franchise. You can't act like the Red Sox or the Angels or the Mariners and carry these deadweight contracts just because you're holding on to them. We've seen teams cut players that, aren't pulling their weight before. And to me, Hicks and Donaldson, just cut them and start fresh.
No doubt.
Even if that means carrying Estevan Florial for a couple of months until Dominguez is ready. I'm fine with that.
Correct.
I just don't want to
At least he's playing the outfield. At least you got somebody out there that's going to make good running catches. He got a good arm. He got good instincts in the outfield. We know that. The fact of the matter is, and I go back to continue saying this, you had 4 months in the offseason. You had all this time to figure out some sort of way to move these guys. The fact of the matter is that we are going to head into opening day and we're right here. Now, whoever knows what this meeting of all the mob heads is going to actually, change or do anything at all. But at the end of the day, I just can't see an opening day roster with Hicks and Donaldson there. Look, I think spring training it should mean something to those guys. They should have shown something. Yeah. Donaldson's showing he's the same player. He can't hit no more. He can field. Okay, cool. Hicks is showing my bat may have got a little better, but for some reason, I cannot catch a routine fly ball anymore.
That Donaldson and IKF trade, the further we get away from it, man, the worse it looks.
It gets
just worse and worse. I mean, the fact that, IKF, you got him to play shortstop, and he couldn't play shortstop. You got Donaldson for his bat, and his bat disappeared. And I've watched Donaldson several times this spring. I mean, he always seems to, for some reason, be in the game when I'm watching. And I see the same thing that I saw last year. I see a guess hitter because he can't react to the fastball anymore. So I see a guy who's guessing and takes a lot of strikes and swings at a lot of bad pitches. Yeah. And look, I got to commend him. He is a good defender, but it's easy to build a good defender. There's a lot of people who can pick it. IKF can pick it, right? You don't need two guys who can pick it and can't hit.
Correct. I'm right there with you. So we already got that off our chest. So now let's get the big ticket off our chest here. The meeting of the minds is going to happen. That is now confirmed, apparently. I believe that. I don't know if it's this. I think it's this coming week. They're basically going to have a meeting to figure out because Anthony Volpe has just come out and said, look, guys, I need to be on this club. I mean, I have done everything I could possibly do to figure out a way in this team, to the point that I think it's pretty significant that every time he plays, he's also leading off. So the Yankees kind of see him as that prototypical leadoff guy they've been missing, a guy that could get a single, walk, steal a base, maybe even steal third. Especially with the new rules, it could be very, very effective for this club. But now their backs are against the wall going, how do we make this work? Because we've already started Oswald Peraza's clock.
Yeah.
And Oswald Peraza has also looked good. He's had some down times, but he's also had some games where he looks fantastic, looks great in the field. What do we do? And that is what this conversation is going to be about.
If only we could have seen this coming down the road. I remember we had this conversation before the postseason last year. We said, there's no way Oswald Peraza is not going to be on the ALDS roster. There's no way they leave him off. And then, what happens? They left him off. So at some point, I've stopped trying to predict what the Yankees are actually going to do over there.
Yep.
All I can say with absolute certainty is that both of them are major league players now. Yes. And, I was entering spring training. I think we both said that Peraza would be our starting shortstop. And I think that I still kind of would go that direction.
Yeah.
To me, Volpe hasn't played enough third base to really slide over to third yet. So that's a problem, which leaves you with the path of, if you go with Peraza at short and Volpe at second, what do you do with Gleyber Torres? There's probably either a trade or you move him over to third. It's just a weird, it's just a logjam that's a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Here's the way that I see it again, and I think it's actually, if the heads can all get together and go, this is the logical thing that makes sense. I don't think Josh Donaldson, I don't think the Yankees are going to release him one. I also don't see a team saying, hey, we'll take him on that deal, no problem. I think the most logical way to help your team in many aspects is that you got to move Gleyber Torres, unfortunately. And I do say unfortunately because the guy's a good ball player. I'm not sitting here and I'm not going to beat up on Gleyber Torres and go, he's the worst. Do I just think he's the odd man out in this club? I do. I think he's the odd man out. I think Anthony Volpe has also played a lot of second base, and he's looked good over there. I think the record is already out on Peraza that should be, bare minimum, an elite defensive shortstop and a guy that can steal you bags. And a lot of people say, hey, don't count him out with the bat because he's a lot better than people think. And we'll see all that. I, again, just go back to what I've been saying since the offseason. It needs to be DJ LeMahieu, Peraza, Volpe, and Rizzo. And here's the thing about trading Gleyber Torres. You're not trading a guy who has this major contract attached to him or anything like that. You're trading a guy who I do believe you could potentially get an outfielder and a starting pitcher for. Even if he's a AAA starter. You can get a starting pitcher and an outfielder. I brought this deal up many times, and I hate bringing trades up. I always say because I don't know. It's not my thing to say, hey, make this trade. I don't know. I like Akil Baddoo.
Oh, I love Baddoo.
And the Tigers.
Speedy.
You can't do a Baddoo and maybe a Alex Fado for him? I mean, that's something that helps the Yankees for this year. And yeah, is Baddoo a guy who conquered the major leagues yet? No. But he's 24 years old. You got him under control for many years to come. And it's worth it in that regard to say, you know what? It gets us our outfielder who we can plug in. At least we know, again, he could field and he got speed. And maybe he shocks all of us and he's a much better player at Yankee Stadium.
It's
with
funny.
protection around him. I don't know.
A couple of years ago when I saw him for the first time in spring training, I think I did a podcast that day and I said, man, we got to get our hands on this guy. He's he's a good little player. I'm not familiar with the pitcher you mentioned, but look,
he's just a back and forth guy, basically. Yeah. He's been a prospect, hasn't really made it at the major league level yet, but it's again, he's that depth that we're talking about that they don't have. Yeah. He's been up and down already. So
yeah, I think depth is really the need for Gleyber Torres. Look, you would love to get something of value back for him, but you don't always need a star. Sometimes you got to fill holes.
Exactly.
I mean, I think back to the Nomar Garcia-Parra trade in 2004. Do you remember when they traded Garcia-Parra? I think it was a three-way deal. They ended up getting Orlando Cabrera, who was a decent shortstop, but a defense-first guy, and they got Doug Minkiewicz. Yep. They shored up their defense, and they lost like a star player. That's the type of deal that the Yankees make. They need to get a solid backup outfielder who they can start for a couple of months, maybe.
Correct.
And like you said, I would deal with any starting pitcher that has maybe already had Tommy John surgery and has been healthy for a couple of years.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Like I don't. It's kind of out the way.
I just want somebody who's an innings eater who can get in there and give you 5 innings of 3-run ball.
Right.
When you need him, when you need to call him up in a pinch. Like that would be like a good deal for me. And then you unload the contract and you don't incur much else. And that allows you, if you need to make a deal at the deadline, you can go out and take on a $10 million salary or something like that, which right now Steinbrenner said he won't do. He said, it shouldn't take $300 million. Well, maybe hire a better GM and then it won't take $300 million.
Bro, I told you, man, I would have had a very easy conversation with Cashman. I'd have just brought him in the room before I signed him. I would have pulled up that roster and go, what is this exactly? Can you really? I mean, look, this is my money. Can you imagine paying Aaron Hicks $10 million this year and having to write that check? And I know it doesn't work that way, but think about that. Knowing that you are on the mend to pay this guy and Donaldson that much money, and you're looking at these trades now and going, you know what? Gio Urshela was the better player, and we traded him.
When I was in high school, my family moved into this. We moved into we built a house. We were moving from New York to North Carolina, and I guess the best way to say this delicately is that the construction standards down here are not up to what they are in here. So, in the months following moving in, this light switch doesn't work. This window's crooked. I remember my dad just walking around the house like, what the fuck is going on? And I feel like that must be what, I feel like, Hal's probably, walking through the stadium and he sees IKF out there taking fly balls in center field. He's saying, what is this? At least I hope he is.
I hope he is too. I mean, and that's my thing, man. And it's funny because a lot of times when I go on rants, people are like, Pete, maybe you went too far. All I talk about is pride. I mean, you got to have some sense of pride in the organization. Like, look, if people want to sit there and go, well, he's taking his own route, it's hard to be out of Georgia's shadow. And 100% it is. You're always going to have that. You're always going to have What if George was here? We all get that, and I think Hal gets that and understands that. The fact of the matter is, have a little bit of pride, though, to sit back and go, I'm paying all this money for this?
Yeah.
Wait, something's wrong here. So yeah, let's get these minds together. And look, I've went around many different aspects of this Yankee roster, and I've said, what really does make the most sense? And I'm sorry, Gleyber Torres fans, but the only thing to me that makes sense is that you try to make a trade for Gleyber Torres. And will the Yankees do it? Knowing the Yankees, probably not. I don't think. It'll be very bittersweet for me as a fan if they pick and choose between Peraza and Volpe.
Well, I think that Volpe's, kind of coming out as the better all-around player. I think he's a better hitter. He's a faster base runner. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went with like the better overall player for shortstop and not necessarily the better defender, because the difference between them on defense, it's marginal.
Unbelievable, yeah.
It's not. And Volpe is younger, so I could see them going with Volpe at shortstop. And then, I don't think fans are going to be as hurt if you send the guy who lost the competition down to AAA for a couple of months to learn third base or whatever. I don't feel like the outrage will be as bad if you send down Peraza. But if Volpe gets sent down, I mean, you're going to have some real blowback here from the fan base, because they said, and Phil Hughes, former pitcher Phil Hughes, brought up this perfectly. He said, if you say there's going to be a competition, and then one guy clearly outperforms the other statistically, and, passes the eye test, if he gets sent down, was it just BS that there was a competition?
100%.
So, I think that the most appropriate thing for the Yankees to do is to keep them both on the roster, and like you said, adjust the roster to correspond. Well, if that means moving Volpe to third, then so be it. If that means trading Gleyber Torres, so be it. Here's
the other thing you got to remember, and this is why it would bother me if they pick and choose. Hal Steinbrenner's comments. That's my thing, man. I mean, you can't come out as the owner. You got to have a little bit of foresight to say, well, how is this going to affect other people? My man is coming out yet again, and he says the future up the middle is Peraza and Volpe.
Right.
Well, look, we know that's not 2 years from now. So if I'm Gleyber Torres, I'm sorry, man. I'm sitting there going, hey, guys, look, can you guys move me to a team that might want me? We saw that apparently it affected him a lot last year, knowing he could be traded. Now you got the owner of your club coming out going, hey, look, that's the future. He's not a part of that, basically. That's the way I read it if I'm the player. I'm like, then what am I doing here?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it can't do a lot for your confidence. If my boss came out and said, hey, look, the future of this department is so-and-so and so-and-so and doesn't include me in it, I'm like, well, shit, which corner should I go fuck myself in? I think that, that was one of two things. It was either one of those planted comments where the PR guy says, slip this in there so that, Gleyber Torres can, soften the blow a little bit, or it's like a Freudian slip where, they've got something behind the scenes with Gleyber Torres and they don't want to mention it yet. Would it shock you at all if Gleyber Torres gets traded, next couple of days? Because he's back from the WBC.
Yeah.
I think if it's going to happen, it's going to be right around the time of this meeting.
Yeah, to me, here's the funny thing. It would shock me because it's the right thing to do, and the Yankees actually did it.
Yeah.
That's what would shock me. And look, I want to make this clear. As today, the Yankees actually sent down Jake Bauers and Billy McKinney. I know some people thought Bauers might have a chance. He's an outfielder, infielder, plays first, but both of those guys sent down, so they're out of any competition. It would shock me just, again, because I can't see the Yankees do it. But here's the thing I just want to bring up again about Gleyber Torres. And I really want fans to understand this, because I feel like every time I bring this up, it's like, oh, Pete doesn't like Gleyber Torres. No, I have issues with Gleyber Torres. But Gleyber Torres is a good player. Gleyber Torres had a bounce-back season last year. He played second base very well. He basically proved, hey, look, I'm a little mental a little bit. If I can't defend the way I want to, it's going to carry over in my offense. And it seems like it did that when he had the year as short and it didn't work out well. My thing about Gleyber Torres is this simple. I'm looking out also for the player. And I really am when I say, it's the same thing I said about Aaron Hicks. He should be moved because I don't know if he's mentally capable of handling what's coming on March 30th when he pops up his first at bat and the fans drown him with booze.
Yeah.
And how is he gonna adapt to that? And for Glaber, the owner's coming out, bro, saying, "Look, you're not part of our future. We fought you over 300,000. We don't want you. Trade me. Trade the kid."
Hicks is a dead man walking, I think, in New York. I mean,
no doubt. He can't do right.
He's got those Gallo vibes now where it's just like a dead man spiral. You know, the ocean is getting bigger in the window. Yep. It's like, uh-oh. Yep, that's right. I just think the Gleyber Torres thing, it's interesting because he did have a 4.1 WAR last year, so it's hard to give up on that. You kind of have to feel like Volpe and Peraza are going to make up for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what IKF's WAR was last year. Couldn't have been more than like 2, like replacement level.
I think it was a little bit. I think for some reason I want to say 1.9. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had in my mind as well. I think that will Volpe and Peraza, if you put them up the middle, combined for 6 or 7 WAR. It's a stretch. It's tough because these are rookies, but can it be done? I think it can be.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's the thing about this meeting that's pretty cool. I think you have the opportunity, right, to ask that question. To say, hey, analytic guys, your analytic department, your Fishmans and these guys, but then your pro scouting department, what have you guys seen from these guys that make you confident that they can really handle that load and be what we expect? Now, look, I do think the rule changes do play a part in this. I really do. If it was last year, I don't know, but I think there's a lot that you got to look into and going, what did Brian Cashman say in the offseason? We've recognized that we need more contact and athletes in our lineup, in our roster. That's why we went after Benintendi. Okay, Benintendi's gone. Here's the great thing about it. You have all of that in the minor leagues at AAA and up. Yeah. And they're your 2 top prospects. They're right there for you. So everything you guys have said points to me that they should be in your opening day infield. And they impact that order. Now, I think if you ask many Yankee fans, you'd say, hey, look, here's the deal for the Yankees opening day. The cool thing is Aaron Judge is healthy. Rizzo's healthy, knock on wood. Stanton's healthy enough. He'll either DH or play some right field. The power's there. We know the meat is there. To supplement that with the new rules, we've added the athletes. We got way more speed than we've had. And we believe that we got guys that put the ball in play a little more than last year and make things happen. Isn't that what we all wanted?
I think so. And look, these guys, there's not enough data on them to really shift them. And with the shift going away, I just think there's going to be a lot more opportunities for success right out of the gate than you would typically have, calling somebody up, because all they got to do is really put the ball in play and you're going to run into more hits. Right. So right. I feel good about that. I think the Volpe speed is a huge factor in their decision. I mean, he gives them that Brett Gardner level base stealing ability. Right. Something they really haven't had. I mean, they've had some guys that are speedy, Tim LaCastro, but he didn't play much, always hurt. I just want to see more action on the bases. I want to see them use athleticism to beat guys. I want to see that double play combination of those 2 kids just growing up together, develop.
Man, I love that. I love the idea of it.
Who was it? Vizquel and Alomar for 5 or 6 years with Cleveland. That was so much fun to watch because they knew every movement. They had all these communications, nonverbal signals, and it was just great. I would love to see that.
You know this as much as I do. Up the middle is where you win World Series titles.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Up the middle is where you win World Series titles. So look, man, I mean, and again, I've wrapped my head around this for a long time, and I've looked at many different avenues. And yes, everybody, I know there's Glaber fans. I get it. Look, if Josh Donaldson was an easy move, I'd be sitting here saying that's the easy way to go. But when you live in reality, who's picking him up for that amount of money? Even if the Yankees pay some of it, you'll have many clubs going, look, one, he's also an asshole. Yeah. So let's not forget that. The guy's also an asshole.
I call him a hemorrhoid.
He's a hemorrhoid. He is. You're right. He's that annoying ass hemorrhoid that just doesn't go away. And a lot of clubs are probably sitting there going, look, if I need a third baseman, we got some kid out there that could cover it. I'm not bringing this guy in for what? He doesn't impact our clubhouse in a positive way, likely. And even if he does, he's not worth it. He's just not worth it. So to me, That is the only thing I see that makes sense. And another thing about it is, again, I don't see Brian Cashman going out there saying, hey, look, if we trade, somebody told me today, but nobody needs a second baseman. Are you nuts? Nobody wants to add 4.1 WAR? Nobody wants to add a guy to get 20 homers to your lineup? Of course they do. Somebody's going to make room for that. You don't think the Tigers could say, hey, Jonathan Scope, you could play third base. You've done it before. We can move you to third. He'll take over second. Now we got a better infield. You got Baez at short, Torres at second, Scope at first, your young Torkelson at first base. That's not a bad infield for a team trying to make some sort of impact.
I could see a National League team trading for Gleyber Torres just for the offensive value. I mean, there's not DHs are a little bit thin in the National League. You put him in some place that's a little bit hitter friendly.
Yep.
I could see him doing some real damage in some place like San Francisco, where you got that big gap in right field where those home runs turn into doubles and triples.
Yep.
Look, I think about the trade last year, the Donaldson IKF trade, and I think about the Gallo trade, and I think about the Montas trade, and it just scares the hell out of me what's coming next, because we have gotten absolutely waxed on almost every deal for the last 2 or 3 years. Minus, I think there's 2 deals I think that were the right move. The Benintendi move I think was the right deal. It was just bad luck. Guy got hurt.
Yeah.
And then the other move, I feel like the Abreu for Trevino move was savvy, but I also feel like it might have been a little bit of luck, because I don't think they were expecting what they got from.
Well, put it like this. They weren't starting Trevino. They never got a starting catch. So it worked out. It was benefiting in his way. Another trade, too, man. You know who look pretty nice for the Yankees right now? Hayden Wesneski.
Oh, yeah.
Wesneski is looking really good. He's looking really good. And I remember Dane was telling me about this a while back. He said, he told me, he was like, look out for Wesneski for the Yankees. Like, he's, a lot of scouts are very high in this kid. And, man, he looks phenomenal. That is looking like an ultimate steal.
Yeah.
If this guy's a number 3 starter, even a number 4, it is an ultimate steal for Chicago. And it's another starting pitcher we just gave away.
I've always liked him just because he's so funky. And all those guys who are all kind of arms and legs, that's something that doesn't really show up in the box score. It doesn't really show up in the metrics, but it's difficult to hit,
Yep.
Derek Jeter used to talk about that all the time. Guys who had some of those unorthodox motions and angles can just be a pain because it takes you in a bat or two to really, get used to seeing them.
Yep.
That one stings.
Got a super chat from Nicholas. Says, I'm behind watching. I can't get my hopes up on Dominguez being up in July. But that would be great. Derek, I think it's possible, man. I really do. Look, the one thing Dominguez did is, this. You know for a fact, the one thing that we know he did is he said I could hit. Mm-hmm. If you guys need to know one thing about me, hitting isn't going to be a problem. And I tell you what, man, before the season began, a lot of the things I was hearing, I wasn't a believer.
Yeah.
I wasn't a believer. Right now when I see this kid, I'm saying, hey, man, somebody better get down there with him and say, hey, we're going to hit fly balls all damn day.
Yeah.
You need to get some better reads. You need to work with Bernie. You need to work with some of our best outfield guys that we have. Because, kid, look, you should be a guy up here at 20 years old. You can handle it. You got that in you. And let's also not forget, he's another guy who adds a shit ton of speed.
Yeah.
With the power, with the switch hitting. He's a big plug, I feel like, for the Yankees to go as far as they need to this year. I think Dominguez might need to be a part of it.
It's funny. You listen to people who are close, and they don't say, Dominguez is pretty good. They say, whoa. They say, whoa.
Yeah.
It's not the same type. And I watch him, and I was looking for those rookie mistakes. Yeah. And I left saying, I went in as a believer already, a little bit biased, and
facts. 100%.
I expected to promote the good things and kind of maybe gloss over the negatives as well.
The rug a little bit. Okay, it happens.
But whatever. But
I do it with every Italian ball player that ever lived.
But I can't think of anything really other than maybe a couple of the routes, like you mentioned, that are really holding him back. And look, the power from both sides of the plate is not something that's on every corner. You can't just go out and get that. And combined with the speed, look, if he goes down and hits, 320 in Double-A with 4 or 5 home runs in April, and the Yankees are off to a little bit of a slow start, Hicks is letting pop-ups fall in. Yep. Do you know how loud it's going to be on our shows, on the Michael K show, everybody who allows, call-ins or whatever, that's every voicemail is going to be about get Dominguez up. Do you remember a few years back when Conforto was in the system for the Mets? He was at Double-A, and they were getting no production out of and the fans forced that move. And you know what? Yeah. They made it to the World Series, right? Yeah. Youth should not be overlooked. One thing I think people forget about with these young players is they're getting better. Their trajectory is upward. And he's got possibly the steepest upward trajectory of any prospect I've ever seen in my entire baseball watching life. Yeah. He had so many problems his first year. And now he legitimately, from all the baseball we watched, he looked like the best baseball player on the field.
That's a great point. And that's one of the things I brought up the other day. I said, the funny thing about Dominguez is he didn't look like just the best prospect. He looked like the best player on the field. Yeah. Bat-wise.
And he's the youngest.
Alone, just looking at offense, you can't sit there and go, Volpe's look pretty good offensively. I'd be like, Dominguez looked a lot better. I mean, I'm just talking about, as an overall, I could smack the hell out of the damn ball. Dominguez looked even better than that. Chaparro has looked very good. And, somebody brought it up to me. I watched him the other day because I was told that he's probably going to have to be more of a first baseman. He didn't look too bad at third base either. I don't know if he's going to be a starter there. He's a little big for that position. Yeah. First base probably makes more sense. But, look, the Yankees are also kind of limited at those positions, especially first base.
I was watching Chaparro, and they were, there's this old saying in baseball, if you can play third base, you can play first base. And I was watching him hit. And I was thinking, this guy is like a prototypical first baseman. I looked at him and I saw Jose Abreu, right? I see that same kind of body type, the same kind of violent and strong but under control swing. Yeah. I mean, to me, I'd have him taking first base reps and as my number one go-to. One more thing about Dominguez, just while we, one thing that you kept hearing Aaron Boone say and you kept hearing the coaches say is that he slows the game down, that he's got a slow internal clock. And so I started doing a little bit of research on that. Just like, do some people experience time differently, right? Can some people, because time is a construct. Time is a piece of our interface. So there's the guy who won the people who won the Nobel Prize this year proved that there's no local observables in space-time, that it's, we've known since Einstein that time is relative. Is it possible that his brain is functioning in such a way that he's just experiencing things a little bit slower?
I definitely think that's real. I mean, I do. I think it has to. I mean, isn't that part of the clutch gene? I mean, I got to believe it's part of the clutch gene. I mean, some people can slow the game down. And I think when it comes to that, it's just that they see it differently than somebody else will. I think that all has to go into one. And when you're somebody that can do that, you better believe that New York is calling for you. And it makes a lot of sense because that's the question all the time, isn't it? Can this guy handle New York? Joey Gallo was somebody who never should have been here. Yeah. If pro scouting was really involved in that, they would have said it. Don't bring this guy here. It doesn't make sense. That was a pure analytic move that took over, and it turned out being an absolute head scratcher. Never should have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the things about him putting on his uniform 10 different times. And look, people have different quirks to their personality and different mental challenges and stuff like that. But when I hear about that, that's a level of anxiety that I just don't think matches up well with the microscope of New York. You know what I mean? You kind of have to have that ability to separate everything else out and focus. You listen to Derek Jeter talk, and I just rewatched The Captain, and nothing bothered him. Comments from other players. Yep. He's like, talking about how Nomar said, "Oh, they should have won the series," and he's just like, "Well, that's what losers say." He doesn't let any of that affect him. He was singularly focused on winning. Yep. I feel like there are certain players who kind of have that constitution about them where they could tune everything else out. And Joey Gallo he looked like a nervous wreck. From the minute he was out, he looked like terrible. And I see the same thing, with different guys. Sonny Gray was the same way. Frankie Montas looked the same way. You can see it in somebody's eye. They got that deer in the headlights look. I don't see one great thing is I don't see that from our young guys. They all look really prepared.
They look ready for it. They do. They really do. They almost carry themselves in a way as like, guys, you need us. You know what I mean? It's like they carry themselves that way. And here's something I brought up a couple of days ago, and I think it's accurate. The stuff that we're talking about, you don't think the players know?
Oh yeah,
The
Dude,
players know it.
I know for a fact the players watch our shows because I hear from them. I've DM with a few of them. And
the thing is too, you don't think the players are sitting there going, they're really going to put Hicks back out there again? I mean, come on, guys. They're humans. Look, and they even have more in it than we do. They want to win. Believe it or not, yeah, you could sit there and go out and making all these millions. Yeah, it might make it at the end of the year a little easier, but they want to win. A lot of these guys know that it's a legacy type thing.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge, let me tell you something. Aaron Judge never wins a chip.
Ugh.
Look, I'm not saying who cares about him, but he doesn't have the same aura about him.
Yeah,
If he doesn't win a chip.
I hope that the Yankees are actually putting some weight behind his words that he wants Volpe on the team.
I think they are. I do. I actually think they are.
As a captain, I guarantee that when he was negotiating with Hal, he wanted. We have reports of this that he wanted the team to make some improvements, and then we hear that Hal has asked him to work on the clubhouse to help supervise the reconstruction of the clubhouse. And it's like, that's not what we're talking about.
He's an interior
That's
decorator.
not what we're talking about.
He's an interior decorator.
Yeah. How about we focus on getting some ball players in here? Come on. I really hope they're giving some weight to Judge's opinion because he's around these guys. There's a phrase in the restaurant business to talk to the people 20 feet from the problem, 10 feet from the problem. Maybe it is. Yep. So if orders are coming out slow, you go to the chef, you go to the cooks, you know what I mean? If the front of the house is backed up, you go to the person who's booking that. Judge is around the team. He knows what they need and he sees what Volpe can provide. And one thing that I think people discount is the tutelage that you can gain just from being around the big league players that might make up for some of those at-bats that you missed out on AAA. Judge can say, hey, I faced this guy a couple of times before. Here's how he tried to get me out. Correct. That type of thing. So
the other thing, too, that we got to also throw out there is, based on reports, too, at this point, is not only Judge.
I haven't heard anything other than Judge.
Yeah, that was actually recently out there, and I actually did a video about it, that I think it might have been Brian Hoke or it might have been Joe Sherman, but they said there's multiple players on the club that are now pushing for Anthony Volpe to be on this team.
Oh yeah.
So, I like I said before, they know it. They know as much as we talk about it, they also know about it. You know what I mean? They know about it. Guys, do us a favor, man. Smash that like button. We got way over 100 people, 150 in here plus. Hit that like button for us. He got a super chat from Li. He says, do you believe if you trade Torres, Cashman's ego isn't playing DJ at second base and JD at third base until the contract is up? No, because I think the only reason they would trade Torres is to get those two young guys in there.
Yeah.
I don't think they would trade him just to trade him. That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. If LeMahieu remains, LeMahieu's going to be on the team. I think he's going to be in that roving role. And I think that's the best role for him. Play a little first, play a little second, play a little third. I think Oswaldo Cabrera has done the same thing. You've essentially got two DJ LeMahieu's. Only one of them can play the outfield now. Yep. So, I think that eliminates the need for a IKF on the roster completely. Yeah. And, the only thing keeping Donaldson on this roster is the money. In a perfect world, like you said, Donaldson third base, Peraza short, Volpe second, Rizzo first, and then Cabrera backing up. Playing a couple of times a week, playing some left field. I would prefer they got a real left fielder and then used him as like the roving guy who can play all over the place. That would be the way I would do it. That's the way I'm going to do it in MLB The Show. But hey, it is what it is.
I tell you, man, I really do. And it's funny, the other day when I put that video out talking about maybe like an Akil Baddoo trade, I think he homered against the Yankees like right after that same day. So I don't know. I think that would be a pretty cool thing, but apparently, folks, the meeting of the minds is coming up. We'll see what that means. Look, if they still have this meeting and Volpe's not on the team, I don't know what the hell they say. That would be so bad because now it's public knowledge this is going to happen. It would be so odd, man.
One great thing about being an influencer, and this, is that, our words start, we can create that momentum of bringing Volpe on the team or whatever.
I feel like I did it last year with Peraza, by the way, because I went friggin' nuts, and then it was, hey, it's coming up. I went batshit crazy on Boone.
A couple years ago, Gleyber Torres was in a really bad slump, and I put out a video where I kind of showed what he was doing wrong.
Yeah.
And then I think the next day he went 3 for 4, and I was
Yeah,
like,
you never
"You're
know.
welcome. You're welcome."
Yeah, for real. For real. Yeah,
I think
you gotta
that's
pat yourself on the back.
they know they watch this stuff, and
Of
I've heard
course,
from a
100%.
a few people they've talked or whatever. So, hey, look, I feel like the Yankees are in a position where if they do the right kind of adjustments, they can be a really strong contender.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also a couple of bonehead moves. I mean, to me, if Aaron Hicks and Josh Donaldson are in the lineup on opening day, I think that's a big sign that the fans should be prepared for a disappointing season.
Yeah,
I don't see them.
agree.
I don't see them having the same type of start that they had last year. As presently constructed with Hicks in left field and Donaldson at third base, I think they're more like that 500 team that you saw in the second half. But if you get everybody back healthy, inject a little Volpe, inject a little Peraza, a little bit more Cabrera, I really do think that, with the unbalanced schedule kind of dissipating a little bit, this could be a 100-win team.
Yeah, definitely. And the last thing that I'll leave it with is, I think as Yankee fans, we're smart enough to understand that the team is going to change by the end of the year anyway. We know that. It's going to look different no matter what, if trade, guys getting called up. But I think here's the thing that people undervalue about Yankee fans is Yankee fans care about April.
Yeah.
Yankee fans care. We care about every pitch. I mean, look, I'm calling these games in the sense of either way. I don't care if we had 9 Aaron Hicks playing. I'm going to call those games.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be much more excited to call that game. And I think the fans will be the same way. They'd be much more excited heading into the year if they come out and go, we've made our decision. Or you all of a sudden see, like Derek just said, the Yankees are closing in on a deal to send Gleyber, whatever. If you hear that, you know it. If you see Donaldson release, you know what is about to happen. And I think all it sends to your fans is, guys, the process is now. The thing that we've been holding back from, but we've been telling you and keeping guys away from this team, it's now, and we're going for it. I think fans enter the year a lot different. A lot different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just ready for baseball again. And this whole shortstop situation is causing me undue stress, man. I feel like my hair is falling out. I just want, like we said multiple times on this channel, get somebody to make a decision, please. Can we just make a decision?
Man. That's the best comment. I give you credit. Ask anybody. They watch it all rise. All the time I go back to that Derek comment because you really can't find something more direct and accurate. Get somebody in that meeting to say, here's the deal. This is it.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. Go make the move. That's it.
We don't need 12 chefs in the kitchen. Let's get one guy. Let's get one guy.
Get one Gordon Ramsay. Get
exactly.
one Gordon Ramsay in there, and that's it, and run with it. And let like Derek said, man, let's get to baseball. Let's get the decisions out the way, and let's get to baseball. Let's have a great year. I mean, we have, I know Derek's working his ass off on a ton of things. I'm working my ass off on a ton of things. We're super excited about this year. Let's get somebody out there that can make some damn decisions. You guys see right there in the comments. Go follow Derek on NYY Recaps. Go sub to the channel. Derek, any last words?
I hope these aren't my last words. I'm trying. I'm circling the drain fast, man.
I feel like it's for me too.
I'll just say my confidence in the Yankees to do the right thing and have Volpe and Peraza both on the roster. My confidence is not strong on that one, but I think it's an obvious move from our perspective and from most fans' perspective, and I just hope it happens.
I agree with you 150%. Guys, just a quick plug, 7 p.m. tonight, Cuba takes on the United States of America. I will be calling that game on Game Season Live. We had an amazing audience last night. Amazing audience. So let's get right back into it again today. Get patriotic for our USA. If they win today, they go to the finals. Tomorrow, it would be Japan versus Mexico to see who goes to the finals there. So it's an awesome time. WBC has been amazing. But guys, with that being said, we will never come whack on a Designated Spittaz track. We promise to always give you the truth. It's what we do here. We're out. Have a great day, guys. Adios.
Take care.
Before it hits the front page.